Welcome to Rivals of the East post-game show with Buzz and Sean here. Week 1 is in the books. And in the words of the immortal Ric Flair, woo! Tua Tagovailoa, the first quarterback to win 4 games in a row against Bill Belichick's Patriots. How much salt is in the wound? What a game, Sean.
Here's another stat for you. So the Patriots are now 8 out of 10 in Miami. That's
They've lost 8 out of 10, right?
yes, in the last 10 meetings, it's been 8 they've lost.
When's the last time they won? Was it with Antonio Brown? That's the X factor. Tom Brady and Antonio Brown. If they had those two guys this game, maybe it would have been different.
Right. Or maybe they should visit Miami 2 weeks early this time to prepare for the heat.
5 days was not enough, I guess. Sean, there's a lot that went on without a lot going on in that game. I hate to say it. I like a W. I'll take it. What a shitty game. Like, it just started out and it was like, I've got my notes on it here. What I think about it. There was just a lot of stalling. It was exciting. The very first drive, Patriots are marching down. You think it's going to be business as usual. And then the pick happens that bounces off of X's helmet. Javon Holland picks it off. Miami goes down the field, almost loses the football in that first drive. Tua gets hit, fumbles, recovers, and we wind up kicking a field goal. So we're up 3-0. And there's more to it than that we'll talk about. But what was your biggest takeaway from this game?
So I'm just going to rattle off a few things right off the top. The first thing is, I have a lot of things like going on right now, between having a newborn in the house and then I got the house getting packed up, which I really appreciate my family really pitching in there and helping while I'm watching the game. So I'm kind of overwhelmed, overstimulated, and then I'm just watching
You're Matt Patricia?
This complete shit show of a game unraveling in front of me.
Dude.
And it's a good thing I was holding a child because
don't throw the kid.
I even made a bet on the game that the Patriots are going to win with a fellow employee. Good job, Justin. If you're listening to this later, good show, man. I'll go ahead and pay you that 25 soon, I promise. But outside of that, so outside of X clearly holding on that play, there's not a lot of salt on me. The Patriots definitely shot themselves in the foot. It was less about the Dolphins playing well. It was more about the Patriots just playing that much more shitty. They were pretty awful. They moved the ball in moments in the game, and in those moments, turned the ball over. Too many false start penalties, too many penalties just in general. Encroachment on defense on a 4th down play that they could have easily have just run stuffed, but no. They gave it to him. 4th and 7 completion for a touchdown to Jalen Waddle. Defense, for the most part, played well. They failed when it mattered. In the offense, couldn't get it done, couldn't finish it in the red zone when it mattered. And I saw a lot of things that I saw towards the end of the year for the Patriots. So that's a continuous progression, and it is distasteful at the least. So,
I'm going to say flat out, I'm an honest man, Sean. I am a very modest man. And I'm going to say that I was in our last prediction. I did predict New England to win. I gave a little too much credit to Bill and the Patriots and the offensive scheme that they were doing. So I'll admit that I was wrong when I said that I thought that Tua would only throw 22 times a game. He threw over 30 times this game. But I will say this. I was shocked. You take away the strip sack for the fumble that Melvin Ingram scooped up for the touchdown, which gave Miami a big boost there to make it 10-0, I think it was. Our offense only scored 13 points. We had 2.8 yards per carry we averaged. We only had 65 yards on the ground. Tua had 270 through the air with a touchdown, no interceptions. But I will say this. For anybody who's a Miami fan, listen, I'm a diehard Miami Dolphins fan, but I'm not a homer. I'm a realist here. And the reality is, kitty and all, is that I'm going to say this. Our defense, I was very impressed with. I was glad to see that Josh Boyer dialed up a great game plan, specifically for this New England offense that's been headed up by Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. Obviously, two of the most incredible football minds in NFL. I'm sorry, I can't even say it with a straight face. History. Anyways,
My
anyways,
apologies as I remove a cat from this session.
um, I will say this though. I do believe that Mike McDaniel did a good job for a first time head coach overall. He kept it simple. He was very much so level headed with his play calling. He was pretty gutsy there on that fourth down when Tua Witten threw that slant straight to Waddle right before the first half ended. Got that 45-yard touchdown pass, took it to the house there, attacking the middle of the field right after Adrian Phillips, of course, New England's one of their biggest pieces in that safety group, got hurt there. So I was glad to see that McDaniel was doing that. Couple of nitpicks I will say for the offense, though. I will say Tua is exactly who I thought he was. Um, he he does great in these situations. I will say that he gets under pressure. He turns into just below average, well below average. Um, there were a couple times there in the fourth where Mike McDaniel was trying to get a little too cute and having to throw the ball when you should have just ran it. I thought, yeah, I know. We should have just ran the ball there to keep, even though we're averaging only 2.8 yards, still would have killed more time on the clock prior to punting the ball back to New England. But there were some things that need to get cleaned up because if we're going to try and make it competitive and win that game against Baltimore coming up in week 2, there's these things got to get cleaned up. With 13 points on offense isn't going to be Baltimore. So we're going to have to figure that out. But I will say I was very happy within the first half there. O-line really's got, inconsistencies there. Twan Armstead got hurt but came back. Austin Jackson got hurt. O-lineman is really thin for us, and you can already see it starting in the first game to pile up here with injuries. Ethan Carter got really, really banged up there, carted off the field with a pretty serious injury. I just feel like this team is very similar. I know people are not going to like this, to the Brian Flores team. If you had added Tyreek Hill to the equation, in my opinion, just the way that this scheme was drawn up is very simple. It was very basic. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock on Flo or Mike McDaniel. I just think that in this situation, your defense is running the show. You play complementary football. And I think Miami did a good job of that. I think they did a solid W there. Nothing that's going to, I think, scream exuberant confidence, but things to build on for sure. I absolutely think so. But second half, I think cooling off on the blitz because the run game was starting to gash us pretty bad. They were picking up from the first half. They were with Mondre Stevenson and Damian Harris coming up the middle for like 8 yards, 9 yards, 12 yards. I think that was starting to hurt Miami a little bit, but the turnovers are what mattered most. I'm not ready to crown our defense against this Patriots offense. I liked what I saw, but I want to see the exact same thing. I want to see a dominant performance against the Ravens before I start taking this seriously and not attributing it more so to the Patriots offense being pretty damn anemic, because I think that might have been like the biggest pile of shit that Bills put on the field in a long, long time. And that's saying something. So I was very happy with it. But Sean, what do you think about Mac's performance? I thought Mac was going to throw more yards than Tua, and he didn't. But
what I'll say before I move on to the Patriots, just pointing out some key indicators that I showed Buzz earlier. So I did look at the stats, and it is definitely very deceiving when I'm gonna put this in perspective to you. Okay, so you tell me what percentage of quarterbacks in the NFL play at this type of level as a quarterback. So when there was no penetration on the outside, inside, no pressure at all. The pocket wasn't bent. There was nothing.
okay.
Um, when this was occurring, which happened 23 times out of his snaps,
Yep.
he had 115 quarterback rating, and he was completing at 8.9 yards per attempt for 205 yards.
How
You tell
about
me
that?
how many quarterbacks in the NFL would do the same if the line was perfectly stable, perfect U shape, no pressure.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably say that. Now, what would you say about under pressure? So this is where Tua struggles clearly. 65 yards
Okay.
when blitzed.
At how many
Pretty much the same
snaps?
thing.
At how
So
many snaps?
that would be 15.
65 on 15. So what is that averaging? 5
Yeah.
something?
So out of all his plays, yeah. So out of all his plays, a fourth of it, when he was under pressure, he completed 87 yards
Mm.
for 5 yards per attempt. It was pretty bad. That's pretty paltry. Like some of the worst quarterbacks probably in the NFL could do that. And one of the biggest things I'll say is out of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when you have 12 attempts that go further than 10 yards and you're making 6 completions, it's probably a problem.
But those 6 completions are all that mattered, Sean.
Yeah, so he's actually ranking in the very bottom when pressured out of the entire NFL according to PFF. So I'm not stringing these stats out of thin air.
Now,
So
wait, PFF.
yeah,
I
Pro Football
remember a
Focus.
certain few episodes back, Sean was saying PFF is dog shit.
Yes,
PFF.
PFF is dog shit in the sense that, um, when it comes to blocking and everything, you're not really sure the assignment. So to sit there and say someone's pass blocking or they were in a run attempt or they were understanding what the RPO assignment, I don't think a common observer just automatically knows just by watching the game. So it's hard to say naturally when you do that. But it does, it does give me a pretty good sense when it says, there was penetration. What plays were happening on hurries and actual hits on a quarterback. So that's actually what I look at. It's very good from pressures. Outside of that, it's yeah. Anyhow, so talking about the Patriots, you were saying Mac Jones. Talking about Mac Jones, good. I wouldn't say good. Average at best.
Okay, I agree.
He made some poor decisions, I think, at sometimes. There's not a lot you could do. I will give the Dolphins defense some credit. When you have Jones coming off the left side on a left tackle and he comes completely unblocked to Mac's blindside, there was no way he could have saw him coming up behind him on his left, and he got
Yeah.
a clean swipe at that ball and took it right out of his hands. And pretty much, I think those 2 turnovers were game changing. That is the reason why the game wasn't even winnable. It made it look unwinnable, even though the score was so close the entire time. Outside of that, just some random notes that I kind of jotted down as I'm
Yeah.
watching.
What you got?
Jonnu at time looked like he did not care, and then I saw in the second half where it looked like he was ready to bulldoze half the Miami defense. So there was kind of mixed reactions there. Kendrick
Okay.
Bourne, there's some major questions about some of those decision makings for putting him into the game. He had two passes thrown his way, and one of them was for a 46-yard catch when they were in desperation mode. Put the guy out there. I don't give a crap what he's doing on the practice field. That was a lot more than what I saw from Nelson Aguilar. And talking about
Oh,
Nelson Aguilar with his 3 catches for 28 yards and a fumble. This guy needs to get the fuck off this team. I'm done with him. Get
no,
him
keep them.
the hell out. No, trade this piece of crap right now. I don't want. I'll take a 7th. I'll take Harry back.
7th.
I'll take Harry back.
Who's going to take Nelson Aguilar? What NFL franchise would take this man? Now you're driving down the field. This is what boggles my mind. And we were talking during the game. We were driving. You got a drive going on. Miami's trying to stop. You guys are going downfield. He catches his pass, and Cowhoo just comes in and hits him. And it's a hit that if you're ready for it or if you're, into it, you could probably hold on to the ball. But he just like explodes. The
He
ball
he
comes out.
he did this weird thing like he was twisting
Yeah,
prior to contact.
like
So the
twisting
ball
back.
just came rocketing out to the right and just went, the game's already out, so it's
Yeah.
okay. Um, so another thing, This
Yeah.
is the big pointer on Mac. I stated it during the game, stated it immediately after the game, and then when I reviewed it, I was absolutely correct. Over 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, there was one pass attempt in the center of the field. Now,
Oh,
Buzz, I know you're no New England expert. Isn't that kind of like the Patriots' bread and butter is over the middle?
Brady made a killing off of it.
Mac
10,
Jones made a
12
killing
yards.
off of it last year.
Yeah.
You have two tight ends that you're probably spending almost $98 million. What are we doing here? Why are we throwing outside these praying touch passes that great play by Myers multiple times.
Yeah, multiple
Toe
times.
tapping, amazing passes that should have been drops. Um, so yeah, Jacoby Myers, he's on my good list. Nelson Aguilar, get him the fuck out of here list.
He just made the list.
Duggar. All right. So talking about defense, Patriots defense, I will say they have shored one thing up that I was having an issue with. Let's see if they continue to do this moving forward. Run defense.
Yeah.
Run defense was stifling, and it looks like the 10 million safeties we actually have on defense seem to be linebackers. It definitely seems like he's putting them in the box. Kyle Duggar looks like he's coming in there like a rocket into the backfield
Hey,
multiple
he got
times.
Hill a couple of times. There was the 3rd and
He
1 that
looked
he
like he
come up
tried
and
killing. I'm pretty sure he like swung at him as he was going to the ground, but
well,
Kyle
Hill
Duggar just coming in there like a man that just wanted to kick the crap out of someone.
well, he got kneed in the nuts by Hill by accident too on that
I don't
3rd and 1
blame him too.
tackle.
If he came in there and he kept stuffing me on the screen passes, I'd be pissed too.
Right in the
So
Duggar.
Kyle Tucker, he's on the good list. I saw a lot of bad tackles that allowed specifically Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Jones. He needs to be better at wrapping up there. There was many a times that he was there on the play the whole time covering Tyreek Hill, and he just allowed him to slip out for another 6-8 yards after a catch, and
Tyreek's
that's a
shifty
problem.
though. I mean, that's not just him. That's a lot of guys who can't wrap
Um,
up him.
so yeah, too many sloppy broken tackles, allowed too many line of scrimmage passes, like just these meek little 4 or 5 yard dink and dunk passes that score out for another 5 yards.
How's that
I
feel?
I I could have sworn
How's
Tom
that
Brady was
feel?
back there throwing it to another running back, except for it was receivers.
How's that feel? Dink and dunk to death.
And Matthew Judon.
Matthew Gion, yeah. He had
Give
a
the
good
man
game.
another race. Just go ahead and take another portion of his contract. Just pay him right now. Just pay him right now. Because if that guy goes anywhere, we're in trouble. Because Matthew June on consistent pressure. I was a little disappointed in Christian Barmore. He had 22 snaps and not noticeable. Didn't think the guy was on the field. He was a guy I was really high on this year, hoping that he was going to make an impactful season. And I know that was a guy that you even said that you thought would make an impactful season. And on the flip side, Dolphins, Christian Wilkerson, a few times he popped out
Wilkins.
there. Yeah, Wilkins. Sorry, I don't like to, give anyone credit on the Dolphins, so I got to put a
It's
little
all right.
hate on that.
I thought it was Kevin Bourne, not Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne. Even I keep messing up on that. I'm sorry, Kendrick. We need to see you a little more. Maybe we can get your name right. So wrapping up the Patriots outside of Matt Patricia doing the play calling apparently, which I'm still not really buying that.
Maybe
That's not
takeout,
happening.
not play calling.
As I saw Bill Belichick throwing the headset to the ground, I still feel like that's him play calling. But 7 points. Okay. They should have at least walked away. I think if you're giving Miami's defense even credit, 14 points at the least. Just 14 points. At least it would have been a ball game. They were in the
But,
red zone 2 more times. Just turned it over senselessly. No reason.
well, Sean, we got some big games coming up here. Obviously, Patriots are playing the Steelers. Steelers coming off a big win against the Cincinnati Bengals, forcing, I think it was 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Obviously, TJ Watt tore his pec, so he's out, but still, incredible defense. And Miami is going to be traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I never liked that matchup. We had a good game last year, but we'll see what happens this time. The burning question I want to know before we end everything here for our first post-game show this season: who do you trust knows their way around a menu better, Matt Patricia or Andy Reid?
Oh, it's Andy Reid. He's a winner.
Yeah, but would you who out of the two do you think writes the Yelp reviews?
Oh, it's still Andy Reid.
You think
Um,
Reed writes Yelp reviews? I see Patricia being the slob who picks the worst restaurants and writes reviews,
s-
and
uh,
Reed is just a guy who
I'll
tips.
have you know he was a rocket scientist before he became a Patriots defensive coordinator, which he also sucked at.
He couldn't even build rockets.
Oh, by the way, he was also our offensive line coach. Guess what seemed to struggle this year?
Well, I can tell you what his favorite restaurant is called.
What's that?
Subpar.
Being a father now, I can learn to appreciate those jokes.
Anyways, thanks for joining us on our first post-game wrap-up of the season. We're going to be back for week 2 for our next wrap-up for the Steelers, Patriots, and Dolphins Ravens game. So you can hear about Sean's woes a little bit more over there in the New England land. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Go ahead and click subscribe, and we will be uploading weekly here along with full episodes. You can catch our podcast over at Apple Podcasts, Podbean, as well as some full episodes here on YouTube. And we're on Instagram for breaking news and other reels and the content as well. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Good day.